Hi everybody and welcome back to Sandling Junction. I've been absent for a little while. Let's find out what's been going on. Okay everybody, welcome back to Sandling. Now, first and foremost, let me just apologise to everybody. I have been absent for a little while. I haven't put a video out for a good number of weeks. I do apologise for that. There is a good reason for it. My other channel is my painting channel, as many of you know, and it has been flat out with that for the last few weeks. So much so that I haven't had the time to put out a video for Sandling at all, although I have been doing some work. And I've also been heavily busy with my Patreon associated with the painting. So with all that said and done, that's still going. But I wanted to get something out for you guys now, so hence this video. Now, I have been doing a lot of work, as I said, and I actually filmed a whole lot of stuff, and it got so long, so much of it, that I thought I just can't edit through this lot. It's just too much. So I've looked at what I had and I've just picked bits out, and that's what's really in this catch-up video more than anything else. It's not an update as such, it's more a catch-up, trying to bring you up to speed with where I'm at and what I've been doing. So with all that said and done, I actually started doing a whole lot of filming on ballasting track. I know it's been done many times, but I wanted to just show you what I was doing, and also weathering it with my brand new airbrush. And you'll see all that in the first part of the video. Now, when I'd finished that process, I looked at it and it all looked fairly generic, and I showed it to a couple of other people, and Tim Cooper was one, Paul from Galgon was another, and it sort of came across that yes, I'd done it with an airbrush, but if I just wanted to do a very generic sweep across the whole track area, ideally using the airbrush, that's what I did. And I think it was because I also had a new one that I wanted to play around and have a try with it. What I should have done was actually took a step back and looked at the track, and I could have done so much more by painting it and doing it by hand. Much the same way as Tim at Scrappy Lion has done on his track and shown us all a benchmark and a way forward. So thanks for that, Tim. But you will see throughout this video really what happens. Now, if it gets too long, I'm not going to show you the hill in this one. I'll save that till later on. But I've also been doing the hill that is behind the camera at the moment. So if there's enough room on this, I will put that and include it. If not, it's in the next one. So it is a tale of woe, but it's actually also a good learning curve, because you can, and there's nothing wrong with using an airbrush to do your track with. The only thing is that it really, the thing with an airbrush is it does a sweeping generic look at it, and it is not individual. If you really want to make it look like track, look like weather track, and all this prototypical stuff that you keep hearing about, then you've got to take a bit more time, a bit more patience with it. And I think that what happened with me was that I realized from what I was told and talking to these guys that I could have done better. I just chose to do it a generic way, and I don't think I'd ever be happy with that. So with all that said and done, I'll let you watch this video and you'll see exactly what happened, yeah, make your own minds up. But if there is, as I say, if there's time, I'll put the rest in. If not, it'll be the next one. With all that, happy modelling, everybody. I'll catch you either in this video or the next one, whatever happens first. Happy modelling. Catch you all soon. Sorry again for being absent for a little while, but glad you're still with me. Glad for your support. Thank you very much, and carry on. All the best, guys. Take care. Bye-bye. And girls. Bye-bye. Okay, welcome back, and I'm ready with the airbrush, and I think I'm going to have a lot of fun with this. This will be the first time I've changed the nozzle end out, so the fork prong, and I'm just going to put it back down on the stand just for a moment and just talk about the colours. Now, a lot of people using or doing airbrushing on track tend to use the rail match colours, and so I shall follow suit. Now, they are purported to be exactly the right consistency. Just jump into your airbrush and go on. I feel that they're a little bit thick for that and need a little bit of dilution. Now then, most people, and this is not meant to be an attack on anyone who does it this way, most people put water into their airbrush fluid. Now, to the greater degree, that's absolutely fine. Not a problem at all. You can dilute the consistency of this with this and you'll have no issues at all. Now, okay, so most of you will know that as well as being a modeler and having a layout, I'm also a professional artist, and over many years I have not only used oils, watercolors, but also acrylics, and I used to teach acrylics for companies such as Liquitex. I used to do all the big shows with Liquitex many years ago when they had that sort of thing going on up in Islington and other places. And the thing is that if you start diluting your acrylics too far down with water, what can happen is that the molecules, it's a plastic paint basically, and when it dries so that the molecules in the paint binder, the acrylic binder, will lock together. Now the thing is that the colour doesn't mean a thing. The colour is merely one part of the equation. Then you have the acrylic binder that does all the important stuff. As it dries, it locks together. If indeed you water down too much, something like below 20%, and put too much water in, there is a small risk that the molecules, there are so few of them as the paint dries or as the water evaporates, that they can't actually lock together because they can't find enough of the other one to do that locking together. So what can happen is that the paint can flake away and come off of the subject. That it shouldn't do on this because there's enough of this to lock it in. It's a rough surface. But on a smooth locomotive or something like that, and indeed if you were painting pictures where you were either airbrushing backgrounds to your paintings or indeed other things. I don't want to make this all about painting, but if you get it too thin, then you can run the risk of a flaking situation later on down the road. So if you want to do that and you want more fluid, then may I suggest you do something like this. This is a watery airbrush solution. Now this is made for airbrushes. It's made to reduce the thickness of this paint to a consistency that will go through an airbrush nicely. But instead of it being water, it is actually airbrush medium. And now that basically means that this is a liquid form of the binder that is in the paint. So you are not replacing with water, you're replacing with more binder. So you can really take that paint all the way down if you need to below 20%, because what you're replacing it with is binder, so it will still lock together. So that's just a little point, and just one worth bearing in mind. I've wanted to say it for a long time, so I see a lot of people really thinning their acrylics down with water, and I do hope that each and every one of them that I've seen does not have a problem in the future. I'm going to do that. I'm just going to do a short section through here to show you how we go about that. I'm going to spray the outer, the inner on each one, here, here and here, and that will be the first pass, and then I will come in on the track a little tighter, because what I think is that the sleeper grime will come as a general dirt along the sleepers inside on the outside, but the track itself I always feel should be a little rustier, and not everywhere, but just some of it, just a little warmer than sleeper grime. So I will probably mix the two together, and then I will come down here with a bit of roof dirt, and then maybe some oily dirty residue, some soot and all that sort of guns right down the center. Consistency for the airbrush was a little bit too thick, so now it's thinner and I think we're much better. I'm also using my little finger here to guide me round on the other rail. In this instance it's handy to have, and so we get a lovely straight edge line, as you can see, like so. And then I'm going to do the inside. Couple more passes. Gotta say, it's a lot less aggravation, this airbrush, than my old one. A lovely feel to it. Inside here, not too heavy on the paint, just a little heavy. In fact, if anything, the flow is just a little bit weaker, but I think we're okay. Don't want to replace the one, just want to put a very small amount of sort of rust down the edge of each of the tracks. So I'm moving very, very gently, not to replace one colour with the other. Inside of this one. There's a much greater degree of control, where this got a little bit too much through here. Okay, that should be enough. Give that a nice shake, and let's pour some in our brush. Nice consistency. Put that to one side. Take our paper again and just test what we've got happening. Not a lot. Just blow it back. Okay, let's release that off a little bit. There we go. Nice grey. And for that, we are going to come down through the centre of the sleepers on the rail. Just one line down through the centre here. Now I'm going to run my finger on the top of the rail, and I'm just going to gently come down and give that a cooler colour. Do that again, just make sure we've got some colour. Yeah, run that down. I think that's looking better. Yeah, I don't think that's too bad actually. It's a little bit of suck it and see, isn't it, with a lot of this, because there are so many different ways of weathering track down. It could be down to regional differences. I'm using a very different mix of gravel than some of you guys out there are using grey for a more modern era. But I'm quite happy to use this and believe that this may well have been something close to what was used a long time ago. I don't know for sure, it's all guesswork. Okay, I'm not sure about this black, to be quite honest with you. I'm going to give it a go. I'm literally just going to run a little line of this down the center, oil, dirt, grease, whatever it might be. Okay, so look after your airbrush and it will look after you. It doesn't take a lot of time to clean, but is worth the effort, especially on the higher end ones where you've got lovely chromium, and that will just clean up very, very nicely and make it look smart every time. So there you go, one new airbrush, and I hope almost as good as it came out of the box. So that will go back in its case until the next time. I've just got this to clean, and yeah, we'll carry on from there. Enjoy, talk to you soon. What I'm going to do now is just clean the stocks and run some trains over and see what it looks like. I showed you my lovely new airbrush. Fantastic, it's great, and I thought I'd try it out on my track, certainly as a case to weathering it, and I put it out on the video as to how to weather your track, certainly with an airbrush in a basic form, and that served its purpose. But then I sort of quite proud of what I'd done, and I showed somebody else, a couple of other people that do this sort of thing very, very well, and the comment come back to me, you used an airbrush, didn't you? Yeah. No, you shouldn't. Not really. If you want to make it look like track and look good instead of just a blanket cover, you should do it carefully by hand and the process, and follow the processes and do it well. So I did try and resurrect the track that I had, and with some more discussions with certainly one person, and we all know who does track very, very well, and that's Scrapline. Tim does a great job with it, and he sort of suggested at the end of the day that I'm never going to be happy with it. Now I know that it could be better, so the decision's made to rip it up, rip the track up, and start afresh. So there's the little tale of woe, and I've got to say I thanked him very much, because he's been very, very kind to give me some of his time to help me out with some of the finer details of what I need to do. And so yeah, I'm going to swing this around in a minute and you can see the mess that I'm in. Alright, I'll catch you all in a minute. Okay, so you can see the mess that I've got myself into here. I have wetted up the old track that was here, and I'm just trying to carefully loosen it up. I ought to be using a much thinner gouge than this and a chisel, but I am doing my darndest to get this out. I'm not going to pick it all out. I'm not going to try to. What I'm going to do is, probably the points have hardly been ballasted at all anyway. I'm going to lift the track that's offending. This can stay. This is only weathered to about here, and this is old siding, so I can play around with that and manipulate that better. But this is mainline, and it just needs to be different than the way I've got it. So I'm going to press on, making much more mess, and hopefully by the end of this video we'll have something back down that is looking a little bit more as it should do track wise. So join me later and I'll show you how we get on. but doing it by hand, doing it with a paintbrush and weathering it down with powders and other things, it does make it look so much better. At the end of the day, this whole modeling process is down to the individual. You can go as far or as short, as it were, as you want to. You don't have to put it all in, or you can put tons in, and down to the individual. I think the thing is, it's rule one, and you can do and whatever you want to do within a sense. So I'm sort of following my rule one, and that was that I really did want to make it as real looking as I possibly could. And I think the chat I had with Tim certainly made me realize that I had actually cut a corner, and just for speed really, I wanted to start getting the hill done, start get some green on here, and it doesn't work out. So I've ripped it all up. The other thing about it also is that here I had the track running down very, very close to this board in a very straight line, and I feel that the opportunity has arisen that I can pull this in, give it a couple of nice sweeping curves in and back out again, and that will make a little bit more interesting running for this area, which was, as I say, very, very straight line. So that's good too. So I'm going to redo that. So what I'm going to do now, instead of talking you to death, is I'm going to start laying this. I'm going to mark this track out. I'm going to cut the bits that need to be cut. I'm going to lay the cork down, and I'm going to lay this track down, put fresh droppers on, drop them in underneath, get it all wired up, get it ready for the next stage. And the next stage will be to hand paint both the rail and the sleepers. And I suggest that if you're not too sure how that's done and want to start before I get this video finished, you take a look at Tim's, I think it's his North End number 9. But there again, if you're looking at that now, you're also looking at my video with it finished. Oh well, there you go. But it's still, check his video out, North End number 9, and that's got all about this process in there. And also I think a more recent one where he goes through the track, through the station as well. Well worth a check out. And anyway, yes, so there you go. I'm going to press on. Okay, so where do we go from here? Well, we all know that the start of all this, a few weeks ago, I was talking about the hill in the corner here. And I still want to get on with that. I'm desperate to get some greenery and some height and landscape into and structure into this layout. So the reason I started ballasting was so that I could do all the ballasting through the tunnel areas themselves. And at the end of the day, having ripped up all the ballast that I started to do, I've left this because it's not going to be seen, so I'm quite happy with that. But now all the track is relayed and I can run trains again, and it's all ready for a hand sort of carefully done ballasting and weathering job. Then I can start looking at putting the polystyrene back in here, gluing it down and creating the hill that I fully intended to do. So I'm going to make a start on it. I've got to scratch build the tunnel portals, and that will not happen yet. So I'm going to have to make some templates and put those into place so that I can work around them and then come back to those at a later date. So that's what I intend to do, and that will be for a new video at some point in the future. So watch out for that one, and I'm going to carry on, finish this video off certainly, and let you guys watch and get on.